Hey, the sound of Earth, Wind and Fire, and let's groove. What a great song on your Thursday morning. It's time for us to go live on Facebook.
Yes, indeed. This is our third episode of Real Talk Real Estate with the man himself, the executive chairman of PropNext, Ismail Gafoor. Welcome back. And for today, it's about HDB to condo. What are the steps, the timelines, and really decide if it's the right move, especially in today's market. So we will take you through all that.
Thank you so much for joining us again.
Yes.
My pleasure, Matt.
Yeah.
Excited.
Well, it is one of those things. I think property in Singapore today is such a big part of our lives.
Indeed.
Whether it's where you live, whether you're looking at it as investment, whatever it is, it's a massive part of our life.
True.
So apart from private housing aspirations, right? I mean, we all aspire to own private. What would you say are the other key motivating factors for HDB flat owners to upgrade to a private property?
Yeah, I mean, Mark, that's a very good question because when we look at it from a broader perspective, we are talking about 1.1 million HDB owners versus about 270,000 condominiums, and then you go downstream further, we are talking about 68 to 70,000 landed property. So obviously, in fact, if you look at it for every HDB 11 houses, we have about approximately 3 condominiums, and we don't even have 1 to 11 as far as landed is concerned. Probably is 1 is to 18 or 20. So obviously the scarcity, it comes with the lifestyle. And you did mention about aspirations. Everybody have aspirations, but beyond aspirations, what I think here is this. People would like to build wealth through real estate. Because at the end of the day, when we continue to stay in HDB, nothing wrong because today HDBs are so beautiful, so comfortable and spacious as well. Yep. Spacious, again, it is again in context. I mean, if you put about the value to how much you can afford to buy a private property, are you going to trade a smaller space? But what people like about many a time we notice here is this, they want to just climb up the ladder. So obviously you have got to talk about either it is a social status or thing. But 2 things prominently comes up every time. The investment angle attached to it. So if someone who stays in a HDB at, let's say, today 600,000, 700,000, they know when they retire, it may cross $1 million. But when they upgrade it now to a private property, say 1.5 to $2 million, 20 years down the road, it may go up to $3 million. And that's just based on inflation. So it allows them an option to right size when they retire, maybe to get an HDB and the surplus cash appreciation.
I see.
So that's one of the key motivations.
Sure.
And other than that, the second one is always they want to give their children a better lifestyle. It's the children that push in most instances.
Okay.
Tell you, my children ever push me to go private. I tell you, you buy.
You
buy, I'll stay with you.
Yeah, well, now's your time to tell them that, right? Because they're all grown up now, ready to buy their own place. Yes.
Do we have a sense of rough proportions? You said it was 11 to 1 when it comes to HDB and condos. Which housing type tends to attract upgraders more? New launches, which we're seeing quite a lot of, or the resale of already existing flats?
Yeah, I think if you want to look at it in terms of the upgraders, I will look at it from a 3 segment that we look at new home sales, which are just by developer. And usually for the new home sales, it takes time for it to be completed. It can take a construction period, it's about 3 to 4 years. Then the resale market where the HDB upgrader can immediately shift in. And there are also sub-sales. Sub-sales referring to new home sales that are completed, but the previous purchaser have not shifted in and he's prepared to sell that property to the next buyer. So the waiting period may not be so long and can also be immediate, a couple of months down the road. Usually what we have noticed based on URA release data's information for brand new launches, and we take it as a proxy. We exactly cannot nail it, that when we look at the purchaser's address, So about 20%, in fact it was 19.8% in 2025 for the first 10 months is a HDB address.
Okay.
So therefore we can assume that the HDB upgraders for brand new condos are about 20%. But on the other side, for the resale market, which is more absolute data we have, 30% are all HDB upgraders, and as well as for the sub-sale, 35%.
Oh, wow.
So generally, you can see about 1/3 of the HDB upgraders coming from purchasing the private properties.
Wow. So, there are a lot of people, it's quite a significant number, right, who actually want to do the upgrading. We're going to jump onto our Facebook Live to chat more about it. Remember, keep your questions coming in and join us for more of Real Talk Real Estate.
1FM.
I just want to pick up on something just very quickly. You did mention size. When it comes to upgrading, particularly for those of us who have lived in the older HDBs, which are bigger, how important really is size?
Yeah, I think it is very important. Especially it has got to do with your existing family size to start with, right? And some of the older generations, we also have our parents or some of our children, and as well as we also have domestic helpers staying together with us. And therefore, our older homes are so much bigger. And that's why, even in the public housing, the resale market, HDB, are still in very positive demand, mainly because of size. Knowing the fact that some of the HDBs, the lease has been depleted by 30 years, 40 years, and yet it holds its value. People want space and size because of the bigger families. But then, on the other hand, if you look at it, the younger generations, the family nucleus don't seems to be huge. I mean, they usually have one child or two children, and they are quite okay. In fact, some of the thinking here is the bigger the house, the more to maintain and cleaning and so on. So people are getting used to this, and that's why we tend to see even the newer private property, for that matter, even newer HDB are smaller in sizes.
I didn't realize that it was really fulfilling like this moving trend, that the smaller places for smaller families. But I think what you just pointed out, resale HDBs, because of the size and everything, it does mean that it's a worthwhile investment as well, because it would hold its value pretty well, depending on people who are looking for that.
You're right, Levi, but one still need to be careful the balanced lease. Because when you talk about it today, the executive apartment, which are more than 1,500 square feet sizes, or for that, the maisonette that comes in the 2-level HDB, are no more an option available for the younger generations, because at max we are talking about a 5-bedroom. So that's why such a bigger houses still retains its value.
I see.
So HDB resale prices have risen quite a bit over the past years. To what extent has this helped flat owners to upgrade to private homes? What is the price gap trend between HDB resale flats and mass market private homes?
Wow. A lot of data. Okay, so the point here is true, Mark. When we look at it, public housing in the last 5.5 years, and I'm taking from 1st January 2000 during the COVID until now, almost less than 6 years, it has gone up by about 54.9% as of last quarter, which is more than 50% in just a short period of 5 years. So does that help people to cash out in certain extent, or does that give them the pace to move and upgrade to a private property? To a huge extent, yes. But when we talk about the gap, what is interesting here is this: because the property prices have moved up a fair bit, I think in both HDB and private, 10 years ago, the gap was about 188%. Okay, I'm talking about percentage, right? But how did we derive the percentage? 10 years ago, in 2015, the average price per square feet was for HDB was 423, while the private resale was at about 1,220. So obviously there was, when you compare the prices, and the price gap was about close to $800 difference. But today we are talking about in 2025, the HDB average prices have gone up to 646, while the resale is 1,776. In terms of absolute term, it's still slightly, the gap is about in cash, $1,130. But in terms of percentage, it has dropped to 175%.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Got it.
So basically, what am I trying to say is everything goes in tandem. The private property have moved up, so have the HDB.
Right.
Okay.
That's an important thing to note.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we want to know is, like, in that same vein, we kind of see this sort of like moderation of the HDB resale price growth. So will this negatively affect flat owners' ability to upgrade? Particularly if private home prices kind of remain firm or even rise?
Yeah, I think again, Levi, if you look at it, the real estate market generally move in tandem.
Yep.
And when I look at the last 5 years, just looking at the numbers, for example, in year 2021, private property went up by 10.6%, but HDB rose by 12.7%. So HDB was ahead, right? Then in 2022, private property went up by 8.6%, HDB went up by 10.4%.
Oh.
Okay. Then in 2023, private went up by 6.8%, HDB went up by 4.9% because of some regulations and cooling measures. Last year, private went up by 3.9%, but HDB went up by 9.7%.
Wow.
For the first 3 quarters, private went up by 2.7%, which has moderated. HDB also moderated at 2.9%. So in other words, what am I trying to say here is Singapore's real estate market generally works in tandem. Very less likely that you will see a private property just moving in a fast and furious, what HDB is lagging behind too far.
Okay, so it shouldn't be too much of a negative impact, or actually none even, because it moves in tandem. I see.
Then what is this thing about people saying that home prices are elevated? If that's the case, then does upgrading to a condo even make sense in a market where private home prices are supposedly elevated and they may still rise even further?
For sure, I think we should also look at the other most important aspect of anyone who wants to upgrade is the salary and income. We have all the while been talking about how the property prices have moved up by 10%, 5%, and so on.
Sure.
But have our income kept pace with that percentages, right?
Okay.
So that's where the affordability comes about.
Correct.
When the property prices take and moved over the last 5-10 years on a certain percentage, and then we will have to look at our income. Yes, generally, Mark, what you said is right. The prices across the board are a bit elevated. But then if you don't make a move now, are we expecting a correction that waiting for a period that they probably, it is every person's hope, right?
Yes.
That if you desire to upgrade, can I time it that when the property prices crash by 25%? And we have witnessed such crash in the past.
Okay, we're going to jump back quickly on air and carry on this discussion. Come and join us. Woo!
So
each time you break my heart.
We were talking about markets crashing. So we've seen markets crash before.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
If you look at it, either is it the very last one would have been in year 2008. We call it as the financial crisis, the Lehman crisis, right?
Correct.
And the market actually dropped by about slightly more than 20%. Then we had our version in year 2003, the SARS and the dot-com bubble, and the market went down by 25%. Earlier days in the Asian financial crisis, actually it went up by 40%.
Goodness.
But the thing here, Mark, I honestly don't think the real estate market will take such sharp nosedive in terms of prices moving forward. And thanks to the various cooling measures. In the past, why the market has been relatively volatile and such more than 20% drop in 4 quarters in a year or 2 years is simply because there were a lot of speculators in the market.
Right.
But today, with the various cooling measures, we are talking about loan to value, we are talking about ABSD, we are talking about total debt servicing ratio, we are talking about seller stamp duty, everything put in place. And that's why today's real estate market is more resilient. And in the last 7-8 years, despite even during the COVID, it only went down by 1%.
Right.
During COVID?
Yes, in year 2000.
That's interesting.
And if you just take a reference, the SARS period of 2003, it went down by 25%.
Exactly.
And COVID is in a much larger magnitude, and it only went down by 1%.
That's amazing. What quite a difference. So these cooling measures are really, really doing its job, taking away that kind of high volatility that we're seeing. That's fascinating. Yeah.
So with let's move on a little bit. So with plus and prime BTO flats, which have longer 10-year MOPs, what impact will this potentially have on upgrading plans, and what should BTO applicants consider when they're deciding between standard plus prime?
Yeah, I think one of the key things, we did a fair bit of a little coverage at the earlier segment, but I think it's good for listeners to be reminded, or for some new listeners. I always say one have to really be mindful of the timeline restrictions, which is the minimum occupation period. For the standard flat is 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So which means to say, we know today if anyone get in a BTO flats, it depends on if it is sales of balance flat, you probably will be able to collect the keys within 6 months or immediate. But generally, a new township, you will have to wait about 3 to 4 years in some instances, 5 years to collect the keys, and thereafter another 5 years as MOP. But when it comes to the prime flats, we are talking about an MOP of 10 years. Right, and the construction period could be another 4 to 5 years. So we are talking about 14 to 15 years. So which means if someone who's wanting to get such flats, then they need to be definitely be certain the first and foremost the size will cater for the growth of the family for the next 14 years. Then the question that we are today linking it is to upgrade, which also means for the next 14 years, one cannot upgrade to an executive condominium, which is a hybrid of a private property, or a normal condominium because of the minimum occupation period. Then one have to also understand, if someone is just applying the house at the age of 30 now, by the time 15 years, 45, maybe it's a prime age, but he must also know that he can only probably make another switch because of his age and retirement and the loan quantum that he qualifies.
That's right. Alrighty, we're going to jump back onto our Facebook Live to carry on this discussion. And don't forget about our Facebook Live question. I'll give it to you right now. That is, which housing estate do you live in? Quite simple. And you stand a chance to win for yourself Ismail Gafoor's award-winning book, I'm Not Good Enough. Come and join us on Facebook Live. All right, the questions continue on. So you did point that out actually in just last week's episode. You really need to think ahead, right? The time commitment involved. And a good one that you point out today. So if someone is 30 years old, you invest in, let's say, a prime flat, an HDB flat. That's going to be a 14 years. So you'll be 45 if you want to make that upgrade, right? All that needs to be taken in consideration because that's going to affect your loan period, how much loan you can actually get from the bank as well.
Yeah, because you're already, your mid-40s, late 40s.
Yes, how much more do you have as a working individual?
Easy.
Not easy at all. So we also want to ask, in that sort of... can you explain, we're touching on it, these key financial logistics, the CPF, the refunds, the resale proceeds, the bridging loans, and the down payments?
I got to tell you, half of that even I don't understand. And I own an HDB.
Yeah.
Pay close attention.
Yes, I'm going to pay attention
Pay
now.
close attention.
Yeah. So I think when we talk about it, yes, definitely we will have to understand the whole process of how it takes to go through the journey, right? So if first and foremost, people know that the property prices may have appreciated. I mean, just just touch a little bit on the earlier questions. Generally, people have three options, right? If they buy a HDB resale flat, direct, immediately available, MOP is 5 years. A BTO of the standard construction 4 to 5 years plus another 5 years, 10 years. And then the plus and the prime is 5 years construction plus 10 years. So you got a 5 years exit plan, 10 years exit plan, or 15-year exit plan. So this is something you have to decide. Where do you want to start and embark so that your exit is clear? Okay. Now, when we're talking about exiting in any of these things, then we also need to look at what are the amount of money that you will have to refund back. So you could have bought a property, say, at $500,000, either 5 years or 10 years ago, and today you may be able to sell it at 800,000. On a straight line, it says that, wow, I have made a 300,000 capital appreciation. But not forgetting the fact, when you sell the property every time, the first thing here is this: you will have to refund back to your CPF ordinary account whatever you have utilized to finance this property. That means at the start, you may have come out with a down payment, and then the monthly mortgages you have been using the CPF. But when you return back to CPF, your CPF also charge an accrued interest. What CPF says here is this: if you have not utilized my money to finance your property, all your money in your CPF ordinary account, I would have given you an interest. Now that you have taken out to go and use that for your property, when you return, you give me the whatever you have utilized plus accrued interest. So that will take away a fair bit of your capital appreciation, right? Then obviously the outstanding loan that is you still owing to the bank or HDB. Minus these two components is what is going to be a real equity capital gain cash that you're going to get. So with that, then you will have to just plan out when you want to purchase the next property. So the next property, again, you need a down payment, which you can use your cash and CPF, which is for the first 25%, and the balance 75% as a loan, on assumption your income allow you to secure the entire 75% loan.
Wow.
No, but that really makes it very, very clear.
I think, honestly, there are a lot of people, and I've spoken to a lot of people, they forget that repayment of the interest.
They do. I can already see like how, in the example that you've given, that the person has a capital appreciation of that 300,000, but little by little, it's going to be taken away. You repay CPF, you repay your loan. What do you really have left? And you don't hear anyone taking that into calculation. They go, I made a $300,000 profit. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. No, we will be there that. No, you didn't.
So it's quite interesting. Now, to avoid having another question that comes up, right? To avoid having to pay for ABSD, some flat owners may sell their flats first before purchasing a private home. What would your advice to those who decide to sell their flat first? Should they plan to sell? Should they? What should they take note of?
Yeah, Mark, I think again it's a very interesting question, and it's an important one. You see, this is always a catch-21 situation, because under the current regime, if you want to straight away go and buy a property, you are subjected to an additional stamp duty of 20% as long as you are still an existing owner. The only way not to pay the additional stamp duty here is for you to dispose of your property. But emotionally you're connected, and there's always, you have fearful, if I sell my property, will I get my dream home?
That's true.
True.
Very true.
But then on the flip side, without selling your property and you go on a house tour and you emotionally get excited, you also can't sleep. And the minute when you commit to purchase without having disposed of your property, you will be under huge amount of stress and you may have to sell a bit too low. No, because you have a timeline, right? Because if you can't dispose of it, then unless, of course, you have the means to pay the additional stamp duty. Okay, so
do you
in a
see
nutshell,
that happening a lot?
I know. I think generally what is our advice that most people are prudent, I must say.
Okay.
And that's the right thing to do.
Okay.
It is all has got to do with the planning.
Sure.
There are few options.
Sure.
There's one way that people need not be so stressed when they're upgrading is for those who buy executive condominium.
Okay.
So if you're having an HDB property, you can buy an executive condominium,
Sure.
and you don't need to pay ABST,
Oh.
mainly because it allows the HDB allow you to retain your property until you collect the keys.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on that basis, but that's only applicable for executive condominium.
Okay.
And that's why executive condominium has always been so popular.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then, as for those people who are buying a private condo, what options they have?
Yeah.
One is for sure to sell the property, and then they know how much they have sold, and they have the capital appreciation and so on.
Sure.
Plan and then buy. And if they want to buy a new launch, and then it is going to take 3 years, then they also have to factor the rental period of the 3 years.
Yeah.
And if you're going to rent something for even $3,500 to $4,000,
Yeah.
at $3,500 is going to be $42,000 a year times 3 years, and you're going to have to set aside $126,000.
Yeah.
But the good part here is this:
Yes.
for during that period, you may not be financing a full loan for the new property.
Okay.
So therefore, you're saving in terms of the monthly mortgage payment, right? But usually, people are so used to paying the monthly mortgages through CPF. But your rent, you can't pay through CPF.
That's true.
So you have to set aside your cash either through your salary or from the earlier capital appreciation.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a third option where people try to avoid having to go rent, and the inconvenience is to buy a private resale property.
Okay.
Okay. So here it's a bit tricky. But what is tricky here is this: you have to time it right. So if you sell your HDB, one of the options here is to ask for a little extension. And you must do all this thing legally, because if you don't do it right, then you will have a setback, right? So, or you time it such that you dispose of your property and you concurrently look for a resale private property, and you exercise. And usually the purchase of private property, in many instances, you can do it much in a tighter, shorter period of time, 8 weeks to 12 weeks, depending the sellers are willing.
Sure.
So if you can do all this management, you probably will not be homeless. And you could also take, if you're shortfall of some cash, there's this element known as bridging loan.
Okay.
Where the bank can facilitate a bridging loan as long as your existing property is sold and exercised. While the funds are not ready yet, the bank can release this amount of money for you to complete the next purchase, and you can move in without being homeless. So this it actually takes a little bit of a science in terms of planning, and that's why you need a professional to guide you through.
Right. Because I don't think people, would able to foresee the bigger picture of things. But my goodness, if they could, just with proper planning, well timed, they could really make a good opportunity for themselves. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. One final question before we're done this morning. This is just for you. What do you think upgrading truly means? Is it a lifestyle change? Is it an investment move? Or could it just be a financial strain?
I think we can avoid the financial strain if it is planned.
Sure.
But when one just become emotional and didn't set aside and been too rash and we just want to follow the norms because everybody's doing it, or FOMO, then you may end up, but not necessarily every upgrade end up in a financial strain.
Right.
But I think, as I said at the start of the program, Mark and Levy, a lot of people want a better life.
Sure.
And they want to build their wealth.
Right.
Yep, other than the lifestyle. I also know that not many people even have the time to use the swimming pool and the facilities.
Yeah.
But living, when you drive and you go to a condominium that's beautiful, it elevates your status and you feel good about yourself. The important is, as long as you have the ability, it's okay. Yeah. So I think the big picture here is this: lifestyle and the investment strategy for the long term is the main drivers.
Okay. Question here. Can foreigners buy property here?
Oh, for sure, foreigners can buy.
Yeah.
The only property the foreigners are not allowed to buy will be the landed properties.
Okay.
Okay, for landed properties are exclusive to Singaporeans. You must be a citizen.
Okay.
Even if you're on a PR, unless you have a special approval from the ministry that you're contributing to the economy of Singapore, is very slim. So it is a Singaporean privilege to buy landed property. One exception here is the landed property in Sentosa. Yeah, foreigners can buy.
Okay.
So only in Sentosa, and they are 99-year lease.
Okay.
Okay, generally in mainland you can't buy.
Okay.
But on the other hand, the biggest hurdle foreigners are facing right now here is the 60% of additional stamp duty. You can buy anywhere.
Yeah, that's
From
true.
Orchard Road to down, anywhere you can buy, but come and contribute to our coffers of 60%.
Right. Wow. That's something we want to highlight, and we're going to jump back on air to highlight that right now. Hey, No Rain, Blind Melon, right here as we are in the midst of our Real Talk Real Estate. We're about to wrap up in just a bit.
I do want to ask this question again. Though.
Yes, to share everyone. I think you should.
A question came through on our Facebook. Can foreigners buy property in Singapore? Ismail, can you answer that question again?
Yeah, for sure. We welcome all foreigners to buy. And foreigners has contributed hugely in the past. But I must say now, very, very small percentage. In the whole of last year, 2024, and the whole of the first 10 months, only 1.4% of all private property purchases were contributed by foreigners, while 90% are Singaporean and 8.6% are PR. So generally, foreigners are not allowed to buy landed property in Singapore.
Right.
That's a Singaporean privilege,
Right.
except the landed property in Sentosa, which are 99-year leasehold, foreigners are allowed to buy. Foreigners can come and join us and purchase any part of Singapore condominiums, but the biggest hurdle now they face is the 60% additional stamp duty over and above the base stamp duty, the buyer's stamp duty of 3 to 4%. So that's why we see a huge, we're talking about 15 years ago, we used to have about 10 to 15% foreigners picking up properties.
Sure.
Today we don't see them. And even this 1.4% of purchases last year and this year generally come from the 5 countries, the Norway, the Switzerland, the USA, Liechtenstein, and some of these 5 countries that are exempted from the additional buyer's stamp duty, mainly because of the fair trade agreement between Singapore. So if you're a US citizen, please welcome. You have a greater advantage as compared to even a PR. A PR have to pay an additional 5, but not citizens of these 5 countries.
And you also mentioned on Facebook Live that even if you are PR, you have to get special permission in order to buy landed properties, right?
Exactly right, Levy. For landed, yes.
And we have this question that came in on our Facebook as well. Someone asked, new condo launch or resale condo, which has better value in your opinion?
Wow, this is definitely a good question. It's going to take just about slightly more than a minute, Levy.
Sure.
You know why new condos? Still a lot of people are coming and picking up, in recent launches, 90%, 99% of Sky at Holland, and 80% also. And we know the price is much higher for new launch versus the resale. But one of the key thing here is this. People are concerned about resale prices, the capital appreciation being rather muted. For example, if somebody bought a resale 15 years ago for $1 million, today it is at 2 million. You are going to buy at 2 million. And 10 years down the road, if the person who bought it at 1 million is happy to sell at 2.2 million, you can't sell much higher.
I see.
Because you bought it at 2. So you have already paid double the price. And in your condominium, 80% would have bought it at 1 million. And these people are willing to sell 10 years down the road, maybe at 2.2. So it's mute and stagnate the growth. But on the other hand, if everybody who buy a new launch at, let's say, 3 million, and the fact that the PR having to pay additional 5%, nobody would sell much lower. Everybody will ask 3.5 million because of the interest, the stamp duty. Therefore, it holds its value.
I see. That's interesting.
And not forgetting the fact is the lease is still a fresh 99 versus one that is 10, 15, 20. So one have to be very careful. So you really have to be mindful when you commit. Is it a resale or new launch, and what is the balance?
I think one of the best things I guess anyone could do would be, for example, to get someone who knows the business. Speak to someone from PropNext, for example.
Yep.
Talk about their financial situation, talk about what they want, and then sit down with that person and discover what's available for you. That would be the correct way to do it, wouldn't it?
No, I absolutely agree, Mark, because these are major decisions.
Yeah.
And one does this in their lifetime 2 to 3 times. And within every time when you make a decision, about 5-year MOP and so on, 10-year down the road, a lot of things would have changed, the dynamics.
Yeah.
So it's always better to get a professional to guide you through.
That's true.
But you make the decision.
Yeah.
But I think it's another key thing that, Ismail, you've been pointing out since last episode and this episode, you really do need to think ahead, plan ahead, because even if you were buying that first property, it's a HDB or even a private, you need to think about things like the MOP and all that. And really be honest with yourself. You do see yourself upgrading, you need to factor that in, right? So that you can make the right purchase. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of episode 3 of our Real Talk Real Estate with Ismail Gafoor, the Executive Chairman of PropNext. Ismail, I think you've really enlightened so many of us with today's episode. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Mark and Levi. Just to say that next week we are not around. I'm taking a break. We will be back again 2 more Thursdays.
We will miss you. He's off to Korea.
You're going off to Korea. You're going to love it. I just got back. You're going to love Korea.
They're going to have a chat right now about all the things Ismail has to do as recommended by FD. But before I go, hey, don't forget to answer our question. Which housing estate do you live in? You can drop us a WhatsApp message at 88550 913.
Just us and you.